Video is going to cover how we describe clouds by altitude and form, or their shape, how they look. So target 2b is what you'll really be answering by studying this video. Target 2b is explain how clouds get their names by altitude and shape, and how temperature affects what form of water they are made of, ice or liquid. Okay, so by now you've learned how to explain how clouds have formed. Now we're actually going to talk about the different types of clouds. So it's all about altitude and then how in which they actually form, like what they actually look like. So here are 8 types. We're going to talk about the 10 main types. There's hundreds of different types. It's a lot like naming genus and species of animals. So once you figure out the main type of cloud, there's all these special characteristics that can make it even more unique, and those are really cool. Some people actually collect them, maybe like me. So here we go. So the first things you need to know are that we name clouds based on altitude, and there are really 3 different levels of altitude that we talk about. So 0 are your highest clouds, that's at or above 20,000 feet. Alto, which in Latin actually means high, but in music and meteorology we use it for middle. And then strato is low, and then fog, obviously, that's the lowest you can get. So at or near the ground. Fog, believe it or not, is actually a cloud type. And then by description, so this is based on their form or how they look, we have stratus, which is a spread out layer or blanket. Cumulus, puffy or heapy. These are your actual clouds that when we draw a cloud, we usually draw a cumulus cloud. You know, cottony, puffy, or heapy looking thing. You can't actually sit on them, so it's not like Care Bears. They're just ice crystals or tiny little water droplets. Cirrus, those are going to be curly, thin, or see-through. They're very wispy. Since they're made out of ice crystals, I always picture them as the snow that kind of blows across the road when it's really cold. And you can see how it'll make these wisps and curls. However, those kind of get frozen in time high in the altitude of cirrus. Then we have nimbus, which means rain or precipitation. So anytime you see nimbo or nimbus in a cloud name, that's implying that it has some type of precipitation in it, primarily rain. So cumulonimbus means cumulus with rain. However, cumulonimbus is usually a thunderhead. They've grown to significant altitude and have a big enough difference in temperature where they get huge updrafts and downdrafts. Those are dangerous for lightning um, and possibly tornadic activity or hail. Not always. So here you have a nice picture of cirro, alto, and strato, the different layers. One way to get really familiar with clouds is, well, one, to look up, but two, also to look at these different diagrams or charts so that you can get an idea of how high up certain forms are. Here's another drawing that kind of shows the different altitudes and what those forms might look like. So it's usually good to have photos of clouds to really be able to identify what they look like, and then think about how they have actually formed. All right, so here's some photos of cirrus and cirrostratus. So cirrus, you don't need to say cirrus because it's already high. It's the name's already in itself. So cirrus is those high wispy clouds, and then cirrostratus would be something that's super high, made of ice crystals, that is like a blanket or a layer. So cirrostratus. A lot of times that's what you need in order to get a halo or sundogs, where you can actually pretty much see through it, but it's such a thin layer of fine crystals, it's able to make those optical effects. And here's a few more. And you have strato cumulus. So strato here meaning low, So the altitude's usually always first, and then the cloud formation, or how it actually looks. So you can see these kind of look, puffy and heapy, but more of like a blanket look. Then we have, here's your typical cumulus clouds, fair weather cumulus clouds. However, these can quickly turn into thunderstorms or significant line of storm systems. These are vertical development clouds. Alto cumulus, so higher up, they're not able to get as puffy and heapy, and then they kind of, it's not really a blanket because you can kind of see through it. There's patchiness to it, but you can definitely see that cumulus fluffiness to it. But since it's higher up, we call that alto cumulus. And then we have cumulonimbus. So cumulus with rain, these pictures aren't as good as some of the other ones I have, but they get the job done. You're going to be able to see these from way off in the distance. And cumulonimbus are super high. First they start as those cumulus puffy heapy clouds, regular fair weather clouds, and then for whatever reason there's dramatic change in temperature and humidity, and they can just pop up, kind of like mushrooms or expanding popcorn. And it can actually happen quite quickly within a matter of hours. You can go from fair weather clouds to large thunderheads like this. Sometimes they'll turn into something called a supercell. And here we have what's called the anvil, or the incus in Latin, and that is at the top of the stratosphere where everything spreads out because the temperature is warm again. Alright, well that's the end of this video. Hopefully by watching it you can complete 2b and show what you know by answering the questions that are posted below this video quiz. So just remember, you need to be able to explain not only how clouds form, as said in the other video, but also how clouds are named and based on altitude and shape. Have a good one.